Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start our class with the recall of what we have read in our previous class, what we have understood in our previous class. In our previous class, we have studied and started first. We have started the lesson number 3 of geography, that is our changing Earth. In this, we have read that how the lithosphere is broken into smaller plates, and those plates are called as lithospheric plates. And these lithospheric plates, we have understand further that they move very slowly. Movement is there in these lithospheric plates, and this movement is just because of the molten magma. As the molten magma inside the earth moves in the circular manner or circular direction, the same way the lithospheric plates also moves. And this movement of the plates in the lithospheric plates causes the great change in the surface of the earth. Then this movement, when the earth movement is there, uh, on the surface of the earth, then this movement we can divide on the basis of two forces where this movement occurs on the surface of the earth, just because of the two forces which are working deep inside the earth. They are the first endogenic force, and the second one is exogenic force. Endogenic force, we have read about that, the forces which act in the interior of the earth, that means deep inside the earth. Whenever these any movement in the plates are there, that is called endogenic force. And when a work on the surface of the earth is there, that is called as exogenic force. Next, we have further read in this what are lithospheric plates, that the earth crust consists of several large and small rigid means I had already made you clear, hard, irregular shaped plates. They are also called as slabs, which carry the continents and ocean floor, and those are called as lithospheric plates. In this, endogenic forces are the sudden movements inside the deep inside the earth. The sudden movements are caused, and these sudden movements uh, cause a great damage on the surface of the earth, and these are known as earthquake. And sometimes slow movements are also there, but we cannot feel those movements which are going on deep inside the earth. But when the sudden movement, and it is very great movement in that in surface of the earth in the form of earthquake and volcano, which is the reason for the cause of destruction over the surface of the earth. Further, in this lesson, we have also understood about the volcano. What does the word volcano mean? Volcano is a vent. And what is a vent? Vent is an opening in the earth crust. So what is vent? Vent is the opening in the earth crust. And what is volcano? Volcano is a vent, is an opening in the earth crust through which molten material erupts suddenly. That means molten material which is present deep inside the earth, it comes out suddenly, and that is called as uh, volcano. Then, similarly, when the lithospheric plates, in this paragraph, we have understood about the uh, earthquake. What is earthquake? So, the lithospheric plates move, the surface of the earth vibrates, and when the lithospheric moves and the vibration is there, this vibration travels all around the earth, and that is called as earthquake. So the plates in the crust where the movement starts is called the focus. Now we have understood this through this diagram given in the book, that when the place in the crust where the movement starts, uh, it is termed as focus, where the movement starts deep inside the earth. Then the place on the surface just above the focus, we have read just above the focus on the surface of the earth is the epicenter. It is termed as epicenter, and from epicenter the vibrations travel all around the earth, and the waves travel all around the earth. And when the greatest damage done is near the epicenter only, near this place only, just above the focus. And when the vibrations travel outward from the epicenter, it is in the waves form. And greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter. So this all we have read about. Then we have seen that earthquake cannot be predicted. It is true that earthquake cannot be predicted, but uh, we can minimize, we can lessen the uh, destruction of the earthquake which will occur after the earthquake appears. So some common earthquake prediction methods are adopted by the local people. The local people had believed that just by the study of animal behavior, or if there is education in the fish, in the behavior of the fish in the ponds, or if the snake comes out to the surface of the earth, then they think, the common people predict that might be in the near future earthquake will be there. So these are the common prediction methods according to local people where this earthquake occurs often on. Now, earthquake case study also we have read that earthquake hits the Bhuj, the massive earthquake measuring 6.9 on the Richter scale. And further, we have read about that the machine here, the machine to measure the earthquake is seismograph, and the scale on which it is measured, on which the uh, this earthquake is measured is the Richter scale. And when this speed of earthquake, or we can say the magnitude of the earthquake, is very high, then it is the damage is also the much greater damage is caused due to the speed of the earthquake, the size of the earthquake. And when it is 7.0, is then it is classified as a major earthquake. I hope you have understood. Now, today we are going to continue with the lesson with earthquake preparedness. Now, how should we be prepared if might we have to face the earthquake? Then, how should we prepare ourselves during the earthquake, during the occurrence of the earthquake? Now, first of all, we will see that where to take the shelter during the earthquake. We have to find first and foremost thing the safe spot, and the safe spot will be under the kitchen counter, table or desk, or against an inside corner of the wall. When the wall is there, the inside corner of the wall is there, that will be the safe spot, safe place for you to save yourself from the much damage which will be caused by the earthquake. So the safe spots you have to find out fast as soon as possible, and you have to reach over there as soon as you feel that the earthquake might occur or is there. Then stay away from. Now, which all places are there in your home which you have to be away from that place when the earthquake appears? The places are near the fireplace. You should be away from the fireplace or the areas around chimney. When if there is a chimney in your house, you have to be moved away from the chimney, or when the windows, where shattering windows are there, the shutter closed up and down like that, then you have to be away from that also. Uh, Plus, if any mirrors or picture frames are there, you have to be away from those things also, so that less and less damage to your life is there. So first and foremost thing you have to keep in mind, you have to uh, find out the safe spot. As soon as earthquake occurs, you have to go to the safe spots, and safe places maybe under the kitchen counter, table, desk, and all. Then stay away from the fireplaces, near the mirrors, picture frames. You have to move away from them, so that if earthquake occurs and they broke down, they are less harmful to you. Then lastly, we have to be prepared. How you will be prepared? You have to be prepared by spreading awareness among your friends, that you have to be aware, be prepared to make the friends and family members aware about this occurrence of the earthquake, and ask them to be calm and quiet, and to take the quick decisions if this type of natural calamity occur. So in this way, you can spread about the awareness among your friends and family members, and this, this will help them a great a lot to face the disaster confidently, and you yourself also to be confident enough to face the any natural disaster, not only earthquake, but if any other natural disaster is also there, flood or like that, you have to mm, be prepared for that, and you have to face the disaster confidently. Am I clear till here? Now next, now the major landforms. What are the major landforms and how these landforms are continuously changing? Now we will come to know about that. The landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes. Now this landscape is continuously worn away. Landscape. Now what is the word landscape refers to? The landscape refers to all the landforms, all the landforms such as mountains, plains, plateaus. These are the landforms, and when the change is being continuously means how the change is being done, it is continuously disappearing. The landscape continuously disappear or become thin or smaller. Then we can say that the landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, and two processes are responsible for continuously disappearing or making thinner or smaller these types of landscape. And these two processes are weathering and erosion. Now, what is weathering? Weathering is the breaking. Whatever I have here highlighted, you can please underline in your books also. Weathering is the breaking up of rocks on the surface, Earth's surface. So what is weathering? It is the breaking of many rocks are present on the surface of the rock, and the breaking of those rocks on the Earth's surface is termed as weathering. And what is erosion? Erosion is wearing away of landscape by different agents like water, wind, and ice. Now, what is erosion? Erosion is the wearing away. Wearing away means that disappearing or making thinner or smaller of the landscape. Landscape I already given. In landscape, all different types of landforms will be there, like mountains, lakes, uh, plains, plateaus. So the carrying away of the landscape, that is either they are totally disappearing or they are becoming thinner or smaller by different agents of water, different agents of erosion. These are the different agents of erosion, that is water, wind, and ice. Due to the action of water, wind, and ice, this type of changes, that is wearing away of the landscape, take place. So that is called erosion. Am I clear? Then the eroded material is carried away or transported by water, wind, etc., or ice. We can say ice in the form of glacier. So when the eroded material means the upper layer of the earth of the landscape is carried away in the by the agents of erosion, that is water, wind, and ice. Then it is transported, it is carried away and transported by water, wind, and ice, etc., to the other places. Thus, this erode, this is carried away. The landscape of a particular area is damaged or disappear just because of the action of the water, wind, and ice. And eventually they are deposited. And eventually they are deposited. That means at one place they are taken away, and at other place it is deposited. Now, weathering and erosion is clear, very much clear. the eroded material is carried away or transported by the water or wind. Means they are the eroded material, the material of that particular, the upper part of the land is carried away by water, wind, or action of water, wind, or ice, and eventually it is deposited, it is taken and carried away. And when the pressure of water, wind is slower down, it gets collected somewhere else, and that is called as deposition, or it is deposited somewhere else. This process of erosion and deposition creates different landforms on the surface of the earth. And definitely, when the things are eroded, when the upper part of the particular area is carried away just because of water, flowing water, speed of the wind, and it is carried away and deposited at another place, then definitely that place something else will be there, it will be playing over there, and then somewhere else it is collected, a pile of that particular eroded material will be at some other place. Why it is deposited at the place? Because after some time, automatically the speed of water, wind will be lower down, and when the speed of the water and flowing water or the wind will be slower down, that eroded material, that sediments or whatever, it is taken away by the fast flowing water or wind. It will be deposited, it will be collected on some other area where the speed of water or wind is less. Am I clear? Next is the process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth, and thus this process of erosion and deposition means wearing away of land and depositing at another place. It creates different landforms on the surface of the earth. Now coming to the next topic, work of a river. Now in work of the river, the running water in the river erodes the landscape. That means the fast running water, it erodes the landscape. It also now make disappear the landscape, means some other type of landscape is formed just because of the work of the river. How the river works, now we'll come to know in this paragraph. When the river tumbles at the steep angles over very hard rock or down the steep valley side, it forms the waterfall. So first and foremost thing is how the waterfall is formed. When the river, running water of the river, uh, it crumbles down the steep angles over the hard rock. Now, this we can understand through this diagram that the hard rock is there from the mountain and all. The fast running water is coming from the hard rock, and then down the softer rocks are there, and then the softer rocks are cut down just because of the process of the river fast flowing water of the river, and then this softer rock undercut by the power of the water. eh, Thus, the water will come down in the form of waterfall. Thus, it creates the waterfall. And this, the examples are given. Here you can read that. Do you know there are thousands of small waterfalls in the world? Many small waterfalls are there in the world. The highest among that is the Angel Falls of Venezuela. You can underline this, which is the highest waterfall. The highest waterfall is Angel Falls of Venezuela, and the Venezuela is present in South America. And apart from this highest waterfall, Angel Fall, other waterfalls are also there. They are Nigeria Falls, that is located in on the border between Canada and USA in North America, and Victoria Falls on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. So these are the other two types of waterfalls apart from Angel Falls. But the Angel Fall is the highest waterfall found in South America in Venezuela. So waterfall is clear that when the running water in the river erodes the landscape, The river tumbles at the steep angles over very hard rocks down the steep valley inside the steep valley, and then it forms in the comes in the form of waterfall. Next, as the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Now, the waterfall is there, the river falls like this in the form of waterfall. When this waterfall in river enters in the plain area, means the plain area is there and the river enters there, there is no particular path to pass the water, and thus it turns, twists, and turns, forming the large bends. And these large bends, the twists and turns in the form of large bend, is termed as meander. Am I clear what is meander? When the river enters the plain area, no particular way is there. If the particular way is there, then definitely the river water will move from that particular path only. But as it enters the floodplains, no particular path is there. It twists and turns, forming the large bands, and these large bands are called as meander. And due to the continuous erosion and deposition, that means continuously water is flowing and it is carrying many sediments and eroded material with it. And whenever the speed of the river, wherever the speed of the river is slowed down, then uh, the ends of the meander loop. When the speed of the river slow down, then the ends of the meander loop, they come closer to each other, and due to course of time, after some time, it takes the form of cutoff lake. It takes the form of cutoff lake, and this cutoff lake is called as Oxbow Lake also, and it comes away from making a different landform structure called as Oxbow Lake. Apart from it is separated from the main river. Clear? Again, I'm making you understand. First, the river enters the floodplain, plain area, and when it enters the plain area, it twists and turns, and the large loops, large bands, they are called as meanders. And when the due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, at the side of the meander, the ends of the meander or loops, these loops comes closer, and after some time, the past after uh, the a few years of due to the course of time, it cuts these loops automatically cuts by itself from the river and forms a cutoff lake. And this cutoff lake is also termed as Oxbow Lake. Then at times the river overflows. Sometimes the river also overflows when the speed of the water is very fast. Its overflow is its banks, and this leads to the flooding of the neighboring areas, and this uh, results in the coming of the flood in the neighboring areas, whichever areas are nearby. That there the natural calamity, we can say, floods appears, and as it floods, it deposits layers of fine soil, other material called sediments along its banks. This leads to the formation of fertile floodplains, flat fertile floodplains. So how this flat fertile floodplains are formed? When the flood comes, that it deposits the layers of the fine soil and other material called sediments along the banks of the river. And when this sediments are deposited at the banks of the river, it is in the form of fertile floodplain. Why? Because these eroded material are there, these sediments are there just because of the work of the river. They are carried from one place to another, and when fertile plain is formed, then that means very fertile soil is present in that, which is good for agriculture purpose. And this raised banks are called as leaves, and the side of that, the raised banks are there. Here fertile plains will be there, but at the side the raised banks are called leads. Am I clear? Meander is the large band known as meander, and due to the course of time, uh, the river is continuously flowing, and in the course of time, it cuts off due to the uh, we can say that the ants comes closer due to the erosion and deposition method. The ants come closer and it cuts off into the form of oxbow lake and forms a different landform. After this, the fertile plain when the flood appears, then the sediments and all settle down at the banks of the rivers form in the forming of the fertile plains. And when the raised banks are there of the fertile plains, they are called as leaves. And as the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases. Now, slowly, the speed of the water decreases, and the river begins to break up into the number of streams. Now, slowly, the speed definitely of the river will not remain the same. After uh, after traveling to few distances much means after covering little distance, the speed of the river will definitely slow down, and as the speed of the river water decreases, the flowing river begins to break up. Now here the picture you can see that this is the uh, fast flowing river coming, and here the speed is becoming less, and now the river is started breaking up into the number of streams. These number of streams are termed as distributary. Am I clear what is distributary? When the speed of the fast flowing water decreases, then it is broken up into the river water. Speed of the water is broken up into the number of different streams, and these streams are termed as distributaries. And the river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load. That means now whatever eroded material is carried away due to the lower down of speed, these eroded material are deposited at some other places, and the water also gets collected when the speed gets slowed down, and each distributary forms its own mouth. Now each stream forms its own mouth, and then again it is further divided. If the speed again rises, it further divides into many more other streams. Thus, the collection of the sediments from from all the mounts form the delta, and thus the collection of sediments from all the mouths, wherever all the streams are there, it forms all its own mouth, and this distributive forms its own mouth, and the collection of sediment from all the mouths, whatever collected here, it takes in the form of delta. Am I clear till here? Next, work of the sea waves. The erosion and the deposition of sea waves give rise to coastal landforms. You can underline this. What does the erosion and deposition of sea waves gives rise to? The erosion and deposition of sea waves give rise to the coastal landforms, and sea waves continuously strike at the rocks, and when the sea waves continuously strike the rocks, the cracks develop. You can see in the picture here given in the side that when the sea waves are continuously striking the rocks which are formed in the sea, then the cracks develop in the rock over the time, and they after uh, means a few years, we can say that these cracks become larger in size and becomes wider, and thus hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. Hello, am I not clear? If I'm clear, My voice is reaching. Please write down yes in the chat box because Jatistan is
No,
not able to understand.
voice is not clear.
My voice is clear. Okay, fine. Then Jatin, you can check your device for that. Fine. Now we'll continue. Then cracks in the rocks develop just because of the strike of the continuous strike of the sea waves on the rocks. The cracks develop. Over time, they become larger and wider. And slowly, these cracks become larger and wider. And thus, hollow like caves are formed. When these cracks are larger in size and becomes wider, a type of hollow, a pass is there, means from backside also no rock is remaining and it is just like a cave form. They are called as sea caves now. First, like this, first of all, sea cave is there. Then more, uh, just because of the work of the sea waves, cracks are becoming larger and wider, and it takes the form of their sea arcs. These cavities become bigger and bigger. Only the roof of the caves remain, thus forming the sea arcs. Like this, it remains hollow inside, and a type of pass is there and takes the form of CR. Am I clear? First of all, due to the work of the sea waves, the cracks develop, and by the passage of time, these cracks become larger and wider and takes the form of the cave, gufa ke tare. And then after taking the formation of sea caves, again these caves becomes more and more bigger and larger in size, and ultimately it takes the form of sea arcs where only we can see the remains of the roof on the top like this, and it is in the form of art. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are remaining. Further, due to more erosion, more work of the sea waves continuously, sea wave is working on this rock, and due to this continuous striking over this rock, same rock, it is further the erosion break the rock roof and only walls are left. Further erosion is there due to the sea waves and only a type of wall is there, and this type of wall is formation of like this is called as stacks, and the steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above the seawater is called as sea cliff. The sea waves deposit sediments along the shores forming the beaches. So the sea waves deposit the sediments along the shores forming the beaches. So how beaches are formed? Beaches are formed by the deposition means by depositing the sediments. The sea waves deposit the sediments along the shores of the uh, river, or we can say sea, and thus it forms the beaches. Am I clear till here? So today we have read, I will stop here only. So today we have read about the how should we be prepared with any natural calamity occurs? How should we be prepared with that? Then, secondly, the major landforms we have understood that what all processes take place in the disappearing or making our landscapes thinner and smaller in size. And those two processes we have understood clearly, that is, they are weathering and erosion. Now, weathering is the breaking up of rock, erosion is the taking away, carrying away of the landscape by the agents of water, wind, and ice. So the agents of erosion are water, wind, and ice. Then next, further we have seen the work of the river, in which we have seen that meanders due to the work of the river. First and foremost, we have seen that waterfall is there, work of the river, fast flowing river cuts the softer rocks and when the softer rocks are cut down, then the waterfall is there from that cut down rocks, and it takes the form of the waterfall. The second, when the same river enters the plain area, it twists and turns and forms the meander. After forming the meander, again due to the erosion and deposition, the meander loops comes closer to each other and takes the form of Oxbow Lake, which forms a particular different, totally different land formation is there in the form of Oxbow Lake. After Oxbow Lake, when the river overflows, the water overflows, it takes the form of flood, and when the sediments are deposited on the banks of the river due to flood, it takes the formation of flood fertile floodplains, and the raised areas of the banks are called as leaves. Further, we have seen what is a distributary, that when the speed of the river slows down, the speed of the water slows down, then it is broken down into number of streams known as the distributaries, and these streams are called as distributaries, and each distributary form its own mouth, and then it is called as delta. When the sediments of the collection of sediments is there, then it is called as delta. Then we have seen about the work of the sea waves, in which what is the work of the sea waves? The work of the sea waves is sea cave. Then further, the due to the continuous we can say striking of the sea waves, it takes the sea caves are turned into sea arc, and further sea arc is turned into the stacks, and then the formation of sea cliff is there just vertically above the steep rocky coast, and then the sea waves deposit the sediments called as the beaches. Now at means whenever you are free, read the lesson carefully till here where we have ended. In our next class, we are going to continue from work of ice. Till then, take care. Thank you.